Good morning, my dear students. Today we are presenting a lecture about the necessary actions to complete a research paper successfully. Allow me to introduce myself first. My name is Bashar Saleem. I am an assistant lecturer at the College of Basic Education, Department of English, University of Babylon. Today's lesson is aimed to be targeting the 4th grade at the university level. This comes at the conclusion of their 4th year, which is part of their graduation, which is how to complete a research paper successfully in order to be graduated. So welcome to this class, and I hope it would be so useful to everybody. First of all, allow me to introduce you to give you a scope about the research paper. It is a form of scholarly writing that offers a comprehensive analysis, assessment, or interpretation of a singular subject grounded in empirical evidence. So the research paper, it's how you're picking up a subject to write about in order to be graduating, which is what part of the necessary actions. We have two types of research papers that we have to complete or we have to accomplish as a student in the 4th year. First, we have a descriptive, and then we have experimental, and then we will talk about each one individually in details. So the first one, descriptive. It seeks to precisely and methodically characterize a population or circumstances or phenomenon. It can answer what, where, and when, and how questions, but not why questions. So what do we mean by that? Descriptive, which is how to pick a subject, and then you have to talk about it, and then you analyze it, and you answer some questions that relates to the where and when and how, but not why. And then we are going to explore why that part is in the second part. So the first one is descriptive, which comes from the word description. So you are only describing the phenomenon or the circumstances. The second part of the second type of research, which is experimental. From the title of it, we can know or we can tell that it is actually come from an experience. So we are applying or implementing an experimental how to get this research done. So this experimental research includes a scientific quantitative approach to test hypotheses or theories using control variables. So with this type of experimental, you are actually going to provide the word why or how to answer these questions, because you are going to go through that in details with me in a few moments. So now we come to the form or how to do this research paper. We have the table of contents of a descriptive research. So we are going to talk about the table of contents that relates to the first type of research, which is the descriptive. First, we have to put the title page, and then we have to come into the abstract, and then table of contents, and then we have chapter 1 that includes the introduction to your subject, of course, and then chapter 2, we have theoretical background and literature review, and then previous studies. With this part, with the part 1, chapter 1, introduction, you are giving an introduction about your topic, what topic you chose to talk about. You give the people, you give the reader an introduction about what is your topic is going to talk about. And then we come into the part 2, which is chapter 2. It talks about theoretical background or literature review or previous studies. This is where you actually touch base on what has been done in the past when it comes to the research paper or when it comes to the subject that you have chosen to talk about. You are giving the readers an insight about the theme of your topic. Chapter 3, we have conclusion and recommendations, references. In this chapter, you are actually going to include the conclusions of everything that you have talked about in the chapter 1 and chapter 2. You are telling the readers what are the recommendations and references for future studies. We have to pay attention to this note. You have to write the label contents at the top and bold and center font, which is actually, it has to be in the center of the page, in the middle of the page, right at the top of the page, and then you actually press enter once, and then you list the important headings and corresponding page numbers. That's when it comes to the format of the table of contents of this descriptive research. Then we have the table of contents of an experimental research. This is the second type of research that we have talked about, which is the experimental. It also includes first the title page. Of course, you have to put in the title page at the first page, so you can tell the reader this is the title of my research paper, and then the abstract, and then the table of contents. These similar to the previous table of contents of the descriptive, and then chapter 1, introduction, and then chapter 2, also you put in the theoretical background and literature review, because you are going to tell the people about the theme or the plot of your studies. Chapter 3, here is the difference that is going to be between this part or this type and the previous one. With the experimental, you are going to include in chapter 3 the methodology and procedures. This is how you are going to tell or answer the word why you have done this experimental research. And then we will talk about it in the next following slides. And then you have chapter 4, you have to put in the results, analysis, and discussions. And then chapter 5, you are going to include the conclusion and recommendations. Also, we have to pay attention to this part. We have also to put the contents word in the bold and centered like format or font in the center of the page, and then you list the headings, page numbers after that. We have also the tables, the figures, the diagrams. If your paper, research paper, includes any diagrams, any figures, any tables, and this, if the research paper contains that, then you have to list them after the list of contents immediately. This means that when you actually, if we go back to the previous slide, you can tell the table of contents, which is the third item, followed by the tables or figures and diagrams. This is only if your research paper includes one of these figures or tables. Then we have the appendix. The appendix is the section when you actually, it's of an academic text where you include extra information that doesn't fit into the main text. The plural of appendix is appendices. So this means if you have conducted, for example, an interview or survey responses, then you have a list of contents or scripts. You include all these pages right at the very end of the page of your research paper. Even like the last page, we used to see the reference list as the last page. But with this appendix or the appendices, which is the plural of appendix, you include these pages right at the very, very, very end of your research paper, right below, right after the reference list. Then we are going to talk about each item individually that we just mentioned. We come in now to the abstract. The abstract is placed on a separate page after the title page. At the top of the page, write the section labeled abstract, bold and centered. The contents of the abstract appear directly under the label. Unlike regular paragraphs, the first line is not indented. Abstracts are usually written as a single paragraph without headings or blank lines. We have a note here. The abstract is about 150 to 250 word summary of your paper. This means when you write a paragraph, we used to indent the first word. Indent means leaving a space, a word of a space. You indent that, you mean like push it to the right, and then you start writing the paragraph. With the abstract, we do not do that. It comes in as one solid piece of your body paragraph. That's actually when you include 150 to 250 words. It should tell the reader a summary of your paper. This should tell the reader what is the gist, what is the theme, what is the plot that of your research paper. It just gives the reader an idea of what is this research paper going to talk about. And then right after that we have the theoretical background or literature review and previous studies. This is actually where you are going to introduce to the reader the research problem, which is a scientific issue or a gap in existing knowledge that you aim to address in your research. This means you are going to touch base on what is the problem of the research paper you are going to talk about, or what is missing in the existing knowledge that you are hoping to fill in, or to tell the reader that you are coming with a new solution to this problem, or you already have to add an additional knowledge to the existing knowledge. So you are actually fill in the gap. You may choose to look for practical problems aimed at contributing to change, or theoretical problems aimed at expanding knowledge. So you are only hoping either to add to the existing knowledge, or you are expanding this existing knowledge. So you are either putting extra information to the existing knowledge already, or you are actually coming with a solution so you can take this problem to the next level. And then methodology and procedures. Your research methodology discusses and explains the data collection and analysis methods you send in your research, a key part of your thesis, dissertation, or research paper. The methodology chapter explains what you did and how you did it, allowing readers to evaluate. And then we have the describe how to collection the data. You have the quantitative methods. You have to collect the data either by survey or questionnaire, and then the qualitative method, which is either by interviews. And then what goes to your research results, it's actually the missing data, the descriptive statistics, inferential statistics. And then with the discussion, you put in what you have found to relate to your literature review or paper, and making an arguments in support of your overall. So in discussion, you put in the brief recap of your key results, and then what do you do with results, and what do your results matter, and why can't your results tell us? What can your results tell us? And then with the conclusion, you put in it should concise and engaging, leaving your reader with a clear understanding of your main findings. So with the conclusion, you put in what you have found so far with your research paper. And then eventually, this is how you put in the reference list at the very end, after you documented all the sources that you have collected so far. So this concludes the lecture for today, and I really thank you for joining me, and I hope it would come handy to everybody, and it would be beneficial, and I wish you all the best and success, and hopefully we see you guys in the future. So thank you so much, and have a great day.